Hey everybody, today is July 26, 2025. Today we'll talk about the price of Bitcoin, where I see the price of Bitcoin headed for the month of August. And before we begin, please read the disclaimer. You can pause the video as you read it. Okay, so last time where I left off was around here, right? Late June. And my prediction was that I wanted to see if we can if we can break above 110, right? I was generally short-term bearish because I just felt like, we were making lower highs and lower lows, right? Lower highs and lower lows. And we had all these CME futures gaps, right? And so my prediction was that we were probably going to come down and fill the gap. And we almost did back in late June when we plunged below 100,000 for a couple hours. But the bulls came in and it really surprised me how strong they were, right? Because it seemed like it was just making lower highs and lower lows all month. And so I basically posted on X that my invalidation point was 110,000, right? If Bitcoin was able to stay above 110,000, then I would basically flip more bullish and believe that these gaps likely would not need to be filled before going up higher, right? And that's exactly what happened, right? We basically ripped up past my invalidation point, which is 110,000 here. And now we're at this higher level, holding 115,000 as support. And for now, we're actually doing it pretty well. We kind of came down here yesterday. You see this wick, but the bull stepped in for now. So as long as they hold this level, I'm generally pretty bullish. And my prediction for this month is probably going to chop sideways a little bit, but I do think we're going to continue to new all-time highs in August, right? And basically rip up to 150,000, right? Which is the next Fibonacci resistance area, 150,000. And if you know me, you know I love the Fibonacci's. I mean, look how well this has done to show resistance and support level. We came up here, hit resistance, rejected, went under the 200-day moving average, reclaimed that, went up, flipped from resistance to support, and now we're pushing up higher, right? So that's good. So yeah, so that's my short-term prediction in terms of the daily. Everything else looks pretty good. We do have 4 green months in a row, so that might be a little concern because that's usually going to be followed by a bit of a pullback. Maybe a red month is not necessarily unhealthy for a continuation higher. But let's look at potential headwinds, right? So one of the potential headwinds is 2 and 10 year, right? The 2 and 10 years are when they when they invert, they're generally and then they uninvert, right? They're generally followed by a recession, right? So you look back all the way back to 1980s, you see the yield curve went negative, and then when it uninverts to positive, it's usually followed by a recession, right? And the last time that happened was during COVID, right? 2020, and we had an uninversion for about a year, and we still haven't had a recession yet. Same with the Fed. When the Fed cuts rates after a elevated period of time of high interest rates, it's usually followed by a recession, and we haven't had a recession yet. So if you follow the 4-year cycle theory, it's possible, and I've been saying this in many videos, that if we follow the 4-year cycle theory, that 2026 we might actually see a recession, right? And we might see the Bitcoin bear market that should align every 4 years. Last time was 2022. Next one could be 2026, right? Now, another thing that might support that is the rising interest rates, right? Inflation rate. Rising inflation rate. CPI data has been up for the last 2 months. Now, it went down for the first quarter, which was great, but we saw it bounce recently, right? And unfortunately, we're getting closer to 3% again, which is bad because we spent so much time trying to lower inflation to 2%, which is the Fed's target rate. So Jerome Powell likely will not cut rates next, which is going to be next week, right? We'll know the results in the next video, which is next month. But the likelihood is that Jerome Powell probably won't raise rates, which is what Trump wants, right? So probably get a rate pause. If he does raise rates, that's going to be bad for the market, right? But I think the market is basically pricing in a Fed pause. And the next available data point is going to be August 12th, right? But for now, generally speaking, I think that that Bitcoin looks generally pretty positive. I mean, obviously, we're in a strong bull market since 2023. If you can see, we still have impulse consolidation. It seems like every consolidation is getting shorter and shorter, right? Consolidation, and this consolidation got shorter before the next breakout. And this is usually what happens during when we get near to the end of the final bull market year. It's just a sort of parabolic run, and then it sort of like tops out, right? This one we had a double top. This one we had more control, probably because of institutions, but we are starting to accelerate and push up higher. So if that is the case, if I am correct, then I do think that we're going to consolidate for a little bit longer, and maybe in August, we'll likely rip up to new all-time highs, closer to 150,000, right? And recall that 150,000 is the next Fibonacci level of resistance, and these levels tend to act as strong resistance area right here, right? Right here in 2024, most recently here, 2025, and the next resistance level likely here around 150,000, right, by the end of the year. And that could be our cycle top, who knows? But let's get more detail looking at our indicators, right? Here we have the 2-year multiplier. Then this is my favorite simple chart to look at because it only has 2 lines, right? If it goes below the green line, it's oversold. If it goes above the orange line, it's overbought. And when it gets close, it's usually near the top, right? Now notice how every cycle has diminishing returns, right? We tend to peak like less and less over this line, and last time we peaked under the line. So this time we might not even get close to the line. But even then, that's still a large, like the line's at 338. So even if we get like halfway up there, we're still like above 150, close to 200,000, right? So about 200,000, right? So that's still a lot. That's like still almost double from here. So there's still a lot of upside, right? Where the way this price action looks in regards relative to past cycles is the same area as in the mid cycle, right? So it seems like there's still a lot of room to run, right? The price cycle top indicator is my personal favorite top indicator. When the orange line crosses above the green line, it turns into a dotted plot, which gives us a sell signal, right? We're nowhere near that, right? We're still in the same price action as we were in a trending bull market, right? Somewhere probably near 2016. It looks very similar, right? So there's no signal or sign that the market is overbought in any ways, right? The orange line hasn't even gotten close to crossing the green line. So this tells us that there's still a lot of room potentially to run. And the upper band is 177,000. So by the time the orange line crosses above, we'll probably be closer to 200,000, right? So this tells us that there's a lot. But keep in mind, again, that there's diminishing returns in every cycle. So it might be the case that we don't even see it cross this time, right, before the next bear market. So just keep that in mind, right? Finally, we're going to look at the price forecast tool, which combines all of these tops and bottom signals, right? And I really like this because it's very simple. Again, a very simple chart to look at. It gives us an idea of where the bottom or the top may be, right? And right now we're smack dab in the middle, just like in the previous cycles. We're sort of like in the same price action position as a strong bull market, right? Where we're not necessarily touching the tops of any of these upper bands yet, which would give us a sell signal. So again, these bands are at like 200, they're easily over 200,000, right? This one's like 500, right? But we haven't touched the blue band in a long time. So more realistically, we'll probably get under, we might not even touch the band this time. We might get under it, but even then that's still just under 250,000, right? So that's still a lot, almost double from here, right? A lot of potential profits. So overall, I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin. Like I said, I do think that August will probably see some consolidation and then up to new all-time highs with the next push up to the next resistance area of 150,000. And this area could be our cycle top. I don't know, maybe we overstretch to 200,000, but we'll see, right? And just keep in mind that there are, the recession risks. We haven't had a recession yet, and the inflation, CPI data, inflation rate, we need it to come down, right? If it keeps going up, then that's going to increase the chances of a recession. And we all know how expensive things are now. It's tough for everybody. So, but Bitcoin, it seems to be grinding higher and higher despite all the potential negative headlines. So, but we're gonna have to see what happens next month regarding the data, regarding the Fed decision, and regarding where the price action heads going forward, right? Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, useful, or informative, please like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe for updates. I appreciate all your support. Thank you again, and have a great day.